Kevin Clark. Peter King's going to join us, among others. Russell Wilson flirting, maybe, possibly, with the idea of not being a lifelong Seahawk, so we'll get to all of that. We're going to start with Tom Brady, but before we get there, Joy Taylor, who betrayed me multiple times yesterday, publicly, privately, on the internet. I was going to say I need to lean on you today because I'm a little tired. Donating all that plasma to pay off my gambling debts tires you out, but I know I can't lean on you for anything, Joy.
Oh,
I
that's
just can't.
unfair.
So how are you?
That's unfair.
No,
I can be a good teammate. The world wanted you to have your, take your medicine on Tom Brady yesterday. So I didn't want to come between that, And I'm a very honest person, as you know, and we all love Danielle. That's just that's what it is.
Okay, that's a callback to yesterday of Joy professing to the entire world that I am the least popular member of my own family. Before I get to the Brady stuff, just very quickly, your thoughts on the idea that a fair amount of this loss should be hung around the neck of Patrick Mahomes. Your quick version of that before we get to that in full.
Well, I mean, when it comes to quarterbacks, they get a lot of the credit. So in a lot of ways, they should get a significant amount of the blame when things don't go well. But I also think you have to use your eyeballs and be reasonable. And if you did actually watch the entirety of that game, there were some moments where Mahomes wasn't spectacular, but I would lay a very small percentage of the outcome at that game at the feet of Patrick Mahomes.
And I would argue that there is not a single quarterback in the league that you could have replaced Mahomes with in that football game, and the Chiefs would have fared any better. But we are not going to start the bulk of the show with the losing quarterback. We're going to start the bulk of the show with the winning quarterback, who once again is Tom Brady. But for the first time in his career, it is Tom Brady without Bill Belichick. And Bruce Arians had some very interesting quotes before the game, but they were just reported yesterday by Sports Illustrated about part of Brady's motivation. So we can show you these quotes. This is the short version of it. I think personally, too, he, meaning Tom, is making a statement. It wasn't all Coach Belichick. And that's the first time we have heard what I would consider a firsthand witness talk about what we in the media have spent a ton of time talking about over the last 9 months, which is how much of Brady's decision to pick the Bucs and to move on was about proving he could do it without Bill. And there are certain things that get discussed and they are purely media creations. And there are certain things, though, that the media is talking about because even though you can't get any of the actual parties on the record, you know them to be true, either through close sources or, in this case, a few close sources, and just your number one best source on everything, logic and reasoning. And that logic and reasoning is this. Tom Brady has had a chip on his shoulder his entire career. What has changed is what the chip is. And I'll explain in a moment how Bill Belichick may have placed the single biggest one on there yet. But when he came into the league, what's the chip on his shoulder? 198. That's the number of people drafted before him. He's famously the 199th pick of the draft. We saw in the, I think it was NFL Network documentary like a decade ago, he could name all of the quarterbacks who were taken ahead of him. But that chip can only last so long. And Tom can say that still drives him, but that's hard to believe, especially because when within 3 months of his first NFL start, he's hoisting his first Lombardi trophy, nobody then doubted that the Patriots made a great draft pick. Nobody thought the Patriots made the wrong decision in sticking with Brady over Brady over Drew Bledsoe. So then, what's the next chip? What's the next challenge? The next one was his rivalry with Peyton Manning. That's another one, if you remember, folks said, oh, that's a media narrative. That's a creation. That's not how it's not quarterback versus quarterback. It's quarterback versus defense. Some of those folks who try to be like, let me tell you how football people think of it. Brady's not worried about Peyton Manning. And then what happened? Was it Spygate, Deflategate, one of the gates, one of the many Patriots alleged cheating scandals happened, and Tom Brady's emails get released. It was Deflategate. And while it was an invasion of his privacy, those emails got released, and so I feel badly about that. There was a very telling email to his father that came in the public sphere when he was talking about Brady versus Manning. This was when Manning was now with the Broncos, and Tom said, he's got 1 or 2 years left. I've got 7 or 8 years left. That'll be the final chapter. Game on. So Brady versus Manning was always propelling him. Once he got rid of that 199th pick chip on his shoulder, it then was a Peyton Manning chip. Doesn't matter you have more rings. He has more MVPs. He makes more money. A lot of football people say he's the better guy. But then Brady kept winning, and Manning retired. And so that chip goes away because nobody argues Brady versus Manning anymore. And you know what the next one was? The one opponent no one has ever defeated. Time. It's the old cliche, Father Time's undefeated. Tom did a whole documentary series called Tom versus Time. He told everybody, that's my new opponent. I'm going to play till I'm 45 years old. People think quarterbacks can't play till they're 40. I'm going to totally reframe that entirely. And that was his new challenge. That was his new motivation. And then who stepped in front of that? Bill Belichick, which will eventually lead us to where we are today. But it was Bill Belichick that stood on those train tracks of Tom versus Time and said, this train's not going any further. And Brady, understandably, was apoplectic about it. Because it was the summer of 2019. Everyone says, oh, Tom Brady put his house up for sale. He wanted to leave. That was the final piece of Brady leaving the Patriots. But every other piece was a Belichick decision, despite Brady giving him all the reason to make another decision. So think if you're Tom Brady in the summer of 2019, the only goal you've ever stated publicly that's a personal goal, that's not a team goal, is I want to play till I'm 45. And by the way, I've got this guy, Alex Guerrero. I think he's an amazing trainer. You might think he's a quack. Don't care. He helps me with my body. It's my secret to this incredible longevity. So I'd like to work with him. I'd like to keep playing. I'd like to be a Patriot for life. And Belichick won't let it happen. And Tom, understandably, is like, wait, forget what I've done over the last 20 years. How about what I've done over the last 3? So this is a defense of Brady here. Listen to this. It's the summer of 2019. Think about it. Show the timeline. What I do in 2016? Well, I missed those first 4 games because of Deflategate. All I did was go 11-1 and then lead the single greatest comeback in Super Bowl history to win my unprecedented at the time 5th ring. What I do the next year? Oh yeah, I won league MVP at age 40. And in the Super Bowl, threw for 500 yards. And he's probably thinking, and maybe if you hadn't benched Malcolm Butler, we'd have won that one. What happened in 2018? Yeah, my numbers were down, my stats were down, but I did win a road playoff game against Patrick Mahomes, leading an overtime drive down the field, and we won the Super Bowl. And now it's the summer of 2019. The only personal goal I have is to play till I'm 45, and you're telling me no. You won't give me the extension. And look up the Tom Curran pieces. I did it this morning, July 29th, 2019. Tom Brady's asked about an extension, says to reporters, ask Mr. Kraft, do you think I've earned one? 6 days later, August 5th, 2019, it is reported Tom Brady signs an extension. But then we find out it was a fake extension. There was no actual real years tacked on to the end of it. He got a raise, and the Patriots couldn't franchise tag him. That's October 5th, 2019. And on October 6th, he put his house on the market. On that day, that moment, he said, okay, fine. I've done all this. I have always performed. I've always been the commensurate teammate, and you don't believe in me. Bill Belichick agreed with me more than he agreed with Tom. Bill Belichick said, I see the numbers going down. I see the trajectory of every quarterback ever once they get to a certain age. I cannot invest in you into your mid 40s. It's an insane proposition. And so guess what? That then became Brady's newest chip. 199th pick, beat ya. Peyton Manning, long gone. Time? Well, I won league MVP at 40, and I won my 6th Super Bowl at 41. But now my coach, the man who's been on this journey the entire time with me, the man who should know to doubt me the least, the man who our success is inextricably tied together, he is telling me, as much as he very well may love me, I don't believe in you. I think you believe in yourself more than is realistic. I think you believe you can do something, and for the first time, I don't believe you can. And so you can come to me and ask me for an extension that my boss